only given so much character space. So that's why we do a lot of just lists and things like that. And then for the writing process for the presentation, that was mainly based off the once we chose 3 presenters. So after we chose the 3 presenters, we got them to actually write the presentation themselves, as opposed to like the 6 to 8 students who are mainly working on the essay.
The one virtue we all value is teamwork. And so how do you think your work distribution and team organization helped you on the way of achieving that Chairman's Award?
Yeah, so I think for chairmans especially, writing an essay and everything is kind of difficult if it's just one person doing it, especially when you're talking about different outreach events, which like I've only worked on some outreach events, but like some of the other people that I worked with for chairmans did different ones. And a lot of for chairmans that we try to do is we try to like tell a story. We give numbers in our executive summary, but we're also in mostly our essay and presentation, we're more telling like the impact we've had on people as opposed to just these statistics. So when you have like different people on the team collaborating with writing the essay, you get more, I guess, impactful writing because it's more people that are speaking to what they've experienced, which I think is why it's really helpful. Also, splitting up the work, make sure like it's really easy to get burnt out if you're the only person that's typing a whole essay, but when you split it up, it allows you like to get a fresh look on things a lot, which is really, really helpful. So I think for chairmans, it's important to, you definitely do need help. It's not like a 1-person job or just 2 people. It's good to have multiple people look over it and multiple people try to write different things because everyone has like a different writing style too.
What are the key factors in winning the Chairman Award, and what are your team's biggest strengths?
So I think some of the key factors for like the Chairman's Award would definitely be like the main focus is impact. It's really, I would say, quality over quantity. Of course, quantity can help a little bit, but it's more so like you have these like results that you can actually talk about, that you've seen like the impact of what you've done happen. So I definitely think like that's a big thing when you're doing your presentation and when you're talking about the outreach events you've done. It's instead of just doing like one thing one summer and just calling that a day, doing that like every single week for a whole summer and then doing it the summer after that again and the summer after that is a lot more important than just probably doing it once and calling it a day. So keeping those long-term effects and actually having like trying to grow, I think the programs that you want to start is really, really important. So definitely that is a big key because I think also for chairmans, it happens over time because a lot of it's outreach based. And when you're like a new team starting, chairmans might not be a super attainable goal for that season, but definitely in the next following season, it could be if you keep your outreach events going. So just remembering that. And then I think one of our like team's biggest strengths, so to speak, would be the students really take a big initiative for leading like our outreach events, which is really, really good. Everyone kind of you can choose to, if you want to lead something, and you can decide and take total initiative on that. So we have a lot of different outreach events going on at once, depending on students' passions. We have like a girls' camp happening or a workshop in Detroit, or even like students are live streaming and doing like some sort of other event or doing a robot demo somewhere. And I think having that like student participation and allowing them to find like their different initiatives that they really want to do is especially helpful, because that's how the Chairman's Award you can actually win, is when you have like all these kids are doing different outreach events and it comes together and you talk about them.
So as a team, what are your weaknesses and what do you want to improve as well in the future?
I think as a team, we have a really, really big team. It's, I want to say like almost 90 kids. I might have the number wrong, but it's a really, really big team, which in some ways is really good because you have all these people that are super excited to do robotics. But I think the weakness for our team is probably just giving to making sure that the students can all have something to do, especially in something that's as fast paced as you guys know, like the build season. 6 weeks is not a super long time, and it's really easy for like this amount of kids to just keep on doing stuff because whatever, like they're building the robot, only so many hands can be on the robot and things like that. So just I think making sure like all 90 kids can somehow have a role and feel like they're contributing, because it's really easy in like competitive robotics to just get swept away with the timing. So I think working on improving that and like training for our underclassmen to make sure that they have the proper things necessary when they come in to be leaders on the team too.
What are your future plans for the upcoming year?
I think a lot of our future plans include, like, first off, robot that's been kicked off and, that's going also. So working on that. And then also future plans, kind of like what I was saying before, growing some of our initiatives that we've started recently into making them more sustainable. We started this unified robotics program in our state last year, which is basically pairs of students with disabilities and students on robotics teams, and they can build a Lego robot together. But it didn't get too much, I guess it did get traction, but also given that it was like the pandemic was really, really strong at that time, obviously a lot of teams couldn't do that. So making sure like those resources get spread out now, and just I think improving some of our initiatives to make them just bigger. And then also I think collaboration, like this event is like incredible, like what you guys are doing, like more stuff like this where we can connect with other teams and just kind of share our resources and what we've learned. And then also like learning from other teams. So doing things like that too is going to be, I think, definitely something we want to continue to do and like do more of this year, especially.
And how do you see your team's future?
I think I feel like this is hard for me to answer because I'm a senior, so I'm leaving next year. So I feel like I haven't thought about that as much. But I think for our team's future, I can definitely see more projects and things like that coming through. And I can see like more focus on the robot too, which is going to be good. So I'm excited for that. That's going to be a big thing. Like we've always been focused on the robot, but I think it's going to be maybe more students will be more involved with build, which is going to be really cool. And then also I think we're going to be doing some more like we do a girls camp every summer, so something like that, but things more on a bigger scale. And I think a lot of the things we're going to be doing is going to be more collaborative as opposed to just our team. And then I also think another thing we're going to be focusing more on is, especially during the pandemic, we made like PPE shields for our frontline workers. So actually working more with our community itself to use like our knowledge for STEM for like I want to say like real world solutions, so to speak, because obviously we're building a robot, but I think like the pandemic really showed us that we can make a huge impact on like everyday items that we realize people might need. So hopefully that could be something that we look more towards, which is actually like getting ourselves involved in real world solutions.
Thank you very much. As we all know, a lot of teams often struggle to find a sponsor to fund their work. Which steps do you follow when you're looking for a sponsor? And lastly, can you name one sponsor that supports your team the most?
Yeah, so for sponsors, a large thing of what we do is we kind of just find companies local to us. That's a really good way to connect with them automatically because of your location, which makes it easier too, because when we're always like trying to find a sponsor or gain some sort of sponsorship, we go and we actually go in person to them and we meet them and we do like a mini presentation. So we might first contact them and say like, hi, like this is our team, da 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 da, like this is what we do. Can we come in and present? Because with sponsors, a large thing that you can see is like they need to know what they're giving their money for or what they're giving whatever resources for. So actually showing like this is what robotics is, this is what Frog Force 503 does, these are the competitions we do, these are some of the events we do. So we generally take like a small team of students to go over there and they do a little presentation with like a slideshow and everything. And then generally after that, if they do give us their sponsorship and things like that, we like to keep the connection with them like pretty constant. So we'll give them like updates on this is what our team is doing. We have like a newsletter that we actually have a sponsor relations group. I feel like I should preface that with this. We have like a small team of students that work especially on connecting with the sponsors. And they actually send out like newsletters that this is what our team did this month. And just so you know what your money's being used for right now. And then we recently started a sponsored podcast where sponsors can actually come on and like speak about what they're doing in their like company or whatever, because that's also a big thing. Like the sponsors, sometimes we can get sponsored with like mentors too, not only just money. And then I would say like another the team that a sponsor that supports us the most would be Magna. So they're a company here too, and we've done a lot of like cool things with them. We've done like product testing for them, which is really fun. So it's like a pretty much two-way street with sponsors now, or that's what we try to do, which try to like we help them with something and they also can help us.
Do you hold seminars on STEM and STEM education? What kind of activities are you currently involved in to spread STEM studies?
So I think for STEM, so in general, we kind of have like, we do STEM activities as one part in our like community. And then we also do like first related activities, if that makes sense. So we have like 35 younger teams in our district itself. So within that, we'll do a lot of like, we pair up student mentors from our high school team to the younger teams itself. And then we also do like programming classes and CAD classes for those teams specifically. So that's mostly oriented towards like first itself for first teams and younger students, but then also for STEM in general, we make sure we do a lot of like just STEM activities and different STEM nights or things like that, because obviously not everyone's going to be involved in first, but allowing that thing to do. So something we started with our like summer lunch program over the summer at our library, we would do like STEM activities. And then over like COVID, we made STEM at home kits where you could send to kids at home and they could actually do that for STEM education. Or like we've been inside we go to the classrooms and we work with like the fourth graders. We build prosthetic hands for an organization called Enable. And we actually got like fourth graders to also do that with us. So we would teach them how to put together the arms and the hands so they could work with that. And a lot of the other stuff we do is also connected to our library. Again, we would have like events there where students can come in and they can see like the robot, or they can do different activities or build the arms or things like that. And we pair up with our elementary schools, and like kindergarten through fourth graders. And like if they have science fairs or anything, we make sure we go and like set up a booth there too, so they can go and see that. And then we also held this big STEM night in our fifth grade building. And it was basically like, kind of think of like a mass science fair. It was like huge. There were different organizations and students and parents could all come from younger. So doing different events like that, which can target a lot of different age groups for STEM education, is what we mainly focus on. And then also with our first education, I'm currently trying to think if there's definitely some other stuff, but I think those are mainly like along the lines of like programming classes, CAD classes for our first teams, and then also like different just STEM like demos or activities we do for our school districts.
As a team, how do you efficiently manage your time? For example, how many hours do you work in a week?
So I think for how many hours we work in a week, it really honestly can depend on, I think, what group you're in. So what we do is, since we have, like, as I said, we have like 90 kids, it's a lot to just be like, okay, here's the season, go and, I don't know, do whatever you want to do. So what we do at the beginning of preseason in like August per se, we split everyone up into different groups, whether it's like we have like a business side of the team and then we have like a robot side. Within each of those two categories, we have like subgroups. So in like the business, we have like outreach / chairmans, which is the one I'm the lead of. We have marketing, like sponsor relations and finance. And then on the build side, we have like game specific design elements, programming, electrical, drivetrain, pneumatics, like all the robot groups. So students are placed in between each of these small subgroups. And then that's how we kind of commence the season and preseason. For each of those groups, there's a 6 to 8 week training like plan each of the group leads come up with for like the fall. And that's how we kind of split up the time to make sure everyone's trained. So by the time the build season actually starts, like it goes a lot smoother and efficient. So usually for training, I know like most groups did, or like my group, we did like a 1 to 2 hour session per week in the fall, just to like get people updated on team history and how things work. Some of the build groups obviously met a little bit more because they have some more sort of training stuff they have to do. And then once build season starts, generally we meet, like each group almost meets like every single day. The build groups sometimes meet for like a lot longer, usually like 3 to 4 hours every single day. And then on Saturdays, they meet like for like 6 hours or more. And then like for outreach and chairmans, we would meet also for like 3 to 4 hours each day as well.
Let's talk about your alumni. First is not only an extracurricular activity, And once one starts spending effort and time for FRC, they can't leave FIRST and robotics. So are you still in contact with your alumni?
Yeah, we're still in contact with our alumni. We still do keep in contact with them. A lot of like the alumni like to come back and also see like what we're up to and things like that. Or if we're doing like certain events that we can call them, like this year when we had like our celebration for Chairman's of Hall of Fame, like we called a bunch of our alumni back, or even when volunteering, a lot of them are still involved. Mrs. Moore, I don't know if you know too much, or you might know more than me about Alumni Connection.
Hello, everyone. I'm Janelle Moore. I'm the mentor for Ashna's mentor for the outreach group on the team. I apologize. I'm having some technical difficulties, so I'm off camera today, but I'm happy to be here. I think Ashna's doing a great job covering everything. As far as our alumni, one thing that's kind of exciting is that we have reached the point in our team history where our alumni are returning to mentor our team. So we have several alumni that are actively mentoring the build group this season. And it's nice to have that history. They understand the team, they have the history of how it works, and what the goals are for the team. Another interesting thing is we now have some alumni that are mentoring teams in our surrounding school districts or in our surrounding community. And that helps us build alliances both for outreach and for building and when we go to competition. So that allows us to have teams connections, stronger connections with teams in our community to practice during the build season and during the competition season and to work together. So that's been a fun kind of development from our alumni coming back to support the FIRST programs. We also rely heavily on our alumni when we run FIRST events. We run 2 FTC qualifiers in our state, and we also host a regional FRC kickoff. So that's a time when the alumni will schedule to come back and help volunteer specifically.
How do you believe your alumni represents the virtues of FIRST?
Okay, I can go for this one. I think in general, a lot of FIRST is just about like spreading and inspiring and like fulfilling the mission of like spreading science and technology, and then also just being good sports and just motivating others too. And like Mrs. Moore was saying, like since we have a lot of alumni that come back and help like mentor, I think like mentoring is a huge like virtue of FIRST, like spreading the knowledge that you know. So that's like really, really cool that they come back and they still like spend so much time with our team and help us. And then also in general, when they're like helping with FIRST events or whatever, even like in their jobs and what they're doing, a lot of it is based around like whether it's STEM or even just like helping other people in general.
I think one huge benefit of having your alumni involved with your team is, especially if they're young adults who are recently out of college and starting their career, they have the ability to really illustrate to the students how FIRST has benefited them and how to apply the skills that you've learned to your career path. So it kind of makes that real for our students to be able to see fellow students who were on the team with them or recently on the team and how they have taken what they've learned in FIRST and applied it to their career.
Finally, what would your advice to other teams be?
I think a big like advice that I would say is to ask for help. I think like when you're a rookie team, especially, it's easy to get swamped with all this stuff like the competition throws at you, the season throws at you, rules, robot, outreach. Like there's just so many components, and asking for help can be a huge like clarity. And a lot of the teams, like if you search up like a team near you or something that's been around for some time, like look 9 times out of 10, if you emailed them, they'll answer probably and definitely be like available to help, which is just really, really nice. And then I think also for like chairman specific or outreach specific advice, like there is like even a small outreach event counts. Like you can make an impact. You don't need to do something like super grand or big or have like all these resources or sponsorships yet to really make a huge impact. So just knowing that, and then for like your presentation when you're speaking to the judges and you're presenting, that can be really nerve-wracking. But just knowing like the judges don't know what you're presenting, you're the one speaking it. So just kind of go with the flow, and in general, like just ask for help. I think that would be my biggest one.
Thank you very much for your inspiring advice and comments. Now we are proceeding with the questions from the live chat in YouTube. I think we have only one question right now, but of course, anyone who wants to ask any questions to Frog Force can ask their questions via the YouTube chat. So to what extent does your team value gender equality, and what is the gender percentage of the team?
So our team, we definitely value it. Unfortunately, we have roughly, I want to say, last time I checked, it was like 20% maybe girls, which is definitely not as high as I would personally like it to be, considering we have such a huge team. So we definitely have been like trying, since we do value that a lot, we've been trying to improve it. So like we do like a girls robotics camp in the summer, which is a lot for like middle school girls that want to join robotics, and getting them kind of involved. And then also in general, just making sure like the different events like girls can do. We do like a girls like STEM training for our high schoolers too, like an extra one that's added, or doing like a girls competition that we go to locally. So that's definitely something we're working towards. And I think that might be a common issue in like quite a few teams, but definitely like, even though it is a problem, making sure that we're coming up with solutions that can actually like do a help, which is what we're trying to do. Hopefully we'll see those results in a few years when we see like the impact of the camp. We're trying to do it more continuously, like every other year, to make sure that we get it like a more continuous flow of girls coming through.
So
Thank you
one
very
thing
much.
I'd
Sorry.
like to add to that, the season kicked off a week ago on Saturday. So this past Saturday, we had our first full team practice, and we had a team lunch as part of that. And one of the thing that all the mentors were commenting on was how many young women were there today at that day. And so I think we can really see the impact this year. I have not looked at our registration numbers yet, but we can see the impact of those summer programs that we've been doing. And maybe more importantly, having the female leadership like Ashna, and a couple of our build group leads are female last year, really makes an impact in having those young girls coming in from FTC be able to see and have great role models.
Yeah, thank you very much again. I think we have one more question from the YouTube chat. You became the winner during the pandemic, so I wanted to ask, what were the advantages or disadvantages you had because of COVID-19?
I think like outreach wise, obviously it was a big hit on the community. You can't do a lot of the in-person events, so it took a lot of adapting. So I think that was definitely like, I don't want to say it was disadvantaged, because like obviously there's a lot of other like bigger problems going on with the pandemic, as opposed to us just not being able to do an in-person like STEM event. But definitely like there was just a lot of adapting that had to be done for not being able to go in person or provide the proper support necessarily to the teams that we're mentoring. Because obviously like doing mentoring virtually, like I mentored an FTC team virtually. It's a lot more difficult when you're trying to show them like different parts of the robot when you can't even go there in person. So I think just getting used to that was a little bit more difficult. And then chairman's wise, I think like it's a lot, or for robotics season wise, and too, when you're just like working long hours on a Zoom, it's like a lot of robotics comes from just being able to be with your friends and actually doing stuff. So I think that was definitely also just difficult for our team. But we tried to do like more like bonding activities and things like that as much as you can over Zoom, just to try to combat that from everyone just being at home.
So I guess these are the all questions that we had. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having us and for reaching out and everything.
So we wish you good luck for this year's competition as well, and
we hope that we will be in contact for the further events as well.
Yes, thank you so much and good luck to you guys too. Bye.
Bye.